Picture this. The power went out 3 days ago. Not a brownout. Not a scheduled maintenance. Gone. The grid, the whole grid, collapsed overnight while you were sleeping. You didn't know it yet when you woke up that first morning. You thought it was a trip breaker. You checked your phone. No signal. Walked to the window. Every house on your street, dark. Every traffic light, dead. No hum of refrigerators. No distant highway noise. Just silence. That was 72 hours ago. And tonight is the first night you have to sleep completely alone outside with no walls around you and no one coming. Here's the question nobody is asking you right now. Not do you have food, not do you have water, not do you have a weapon. The real question is this: can your brain let you sleep? Because here's what I know about you, and I know this without ever meeting you. Your brain is about to become your single greatest enemy tonight. Not the cold, not the dark, not whatever is moving out there past the tree line. You, your own mind, running on ancient wiring that was never designed for this moment, is going to do everything in its power to keep you awake, wired, and terrified, until it quietly, without warning, shuts itself off at the absolute worst possible second. And that's when things go wrong. So before we talk about where you sleep, before we talk about what you hear and what you build and what you prepare, we need to talk about what is happening inside your skull right now. Because until you understand that, nothing else matters. Stay with me. Let me destroy something you believe right now. You believe that being alert keeps you safe. You believe that the more vigilant you are, the more you scan, the more you listen, the more you stay on, the better your chances of surviving the night. Every movie you've ever watched told you this. Every thriller, every survival show, every tough guy instinct hardwired into your DNA is screaming the exact same message at you right now. Don't you dare close your eyes. It feels like wisdom. It feels like strength. It feels like the responsible, serious, no-nonsense survival instinct of someone who gets it. It is the fastest way to get yourself killed. Full stop. And I'm not being dramatic. I'm being precise. Here's what actually happens to a human brain that refuses to sleep in a high-threat environment. And pay attention, because this is the part that separates the people who make it from the ones who don't. When you stay awake past 18 hours, not 2 days, not a week, just 18 hours, your prefrontal cortex begins to degrade. The prefrontal cortex is the part of your brain responsible for judgment, threat assessment, and decision-making. It is, in blunt terms, the part that keeps you smart. At 20 hours awake, your threat detection becomes unreliable. You start misreading neutral sounds as dangerous. You start seeing movement that isn't there. You start making decisions that feel completely rational in the moment and are actually catastrophic. But here's the part nobody talks about. It doesn't feel like degradation. That's the trap. That is the trap that kills people. Sleep deprivation feels like alertness. It mimics the sensation of being switched on, dialed in, ready. The stress hormones flooding your system, cortisol, adrenaline, they create a feeling of sharp awareness that is completely fake. You feel like you're running at 100%, and you are actually running at 40%, and you have no way of knowing the difference from the inside. You think you're a sharpened blade. You are a drunk man who thinks he drives better after a few beers. And it gets worse. Past 24 hours without sleep, your brain begins doing something terrifying without your permission. Something called microsleeps, involuntary blackouts lasting between half a second and 30 seconds where your brain simply disconnects. You are awake. Your eyes are open. You are sitting there in the dark, gripping whatever weapon you have, scanning the perimeter, and your brain has gone offline for 30 seconds. And you will never know it happened. The guard who refuses to sleep isn't awake. He just can't tell when he's asleep anymore. So let's bury this idea right now, permanently. The person sitting up all night on pure willpower is not the survivor in this story. He's the cautionary tale. The survivor is someone who understood something counterintuitive, something almost uncomfortable to accept, something that goes against every survival instinct you've been handed your entire life. The survivor slept. On purpose. On schedule. By choice. But, and this is the part we need to spend the rest of this conversation on, how you sleep in a grid-down situation is a completely different science from how you sleep in a bed. And almost no one understands it. Let's start at the beginning. Here is something your biology teacher never told you, and it is probably the most important survival fact you will ever hear. Your brain has a threat detection system that runs independently of your conscious mind. It does not ask your permission. It does not consult your plans. It does not care that you have a system, that you are prepared, that you have read every survival manual ever printed. It runs on its own rules, ancient rules, rules written into your nervous system somewhere between 50,000 and 200,000 years ago, when your ancestors were sleeping in the open on the African savanna with things that wanted to eat them. This system is called the amygdala threat loop, and understanding it is the difference between sleeping through a dangerous night and lying paralyzed with your heart slamming against your ribs until dawn. Here's how it works. When your brain perceives an unsafe environment, no walls, no door, no visible community, no established shelter, it triggers a cascade. Cortisol floods your system. Your heart rate elevates. Your muscle tension increases. Your senses sharpen. But here's the part that makes this a trap specifically for survival situations. The amygdala cannot distinguish between actual danger and perceived danger. It responds to the idea that you might be in danger the same way it responds to actual danger. So lying in the open, even if nothing is hunting you, even if you are genuinely safe, your brain does not know that. It cannot know that. And so it keeps the alarm on all night. And here's the cruel irony. The longer the alarm runs, the power went out, the more your brain reinforces it. Not a brownout. Because stress hormones don't just respond to perceived danger. The grid amplified threat detection. Collapsed over an hour into your sleepless night. You didn't know it. Sounds that would have seemed when you woke up now that first morning. Shadows that would have meant nothing now have shapes. You checked your phone. Your brain has turned the threat dial up to 11. Window, and it is every house on your street. This is called hypervigilance. Every traffic light, and it is one of the least talked about survival killers there is. No people who die of exhaustion in survival situations. Silence. Who make failed decisions on day 3 ago. And tonight, they didn't fail. Tonight, because they lacked first night you have to sleep. They fail because they fed the spiral outside on night 1 with no walls around you. And so how do you break it? Here's the question nobody is asking because the solution is not do you have food. It is not courage. Do you have water? It is not telling yourself to calm down. The real solution is neurological. Can your brain let you sleep? And it starts with understanding because here's what I know about you. Changes everything. And I know this without ever Safety is a signal. Your brain is about to become your single greatest enemy tonight. Safety is a signal. Not the cold. A neurological signal. Not the dark. Not whatever is moving out there past the tree line. You cannot build safety with four walls. Your own mind does not running on ancient wiring that was never designed. And you can create the neurological signal of safety. Everything in its power to keep you awake, wired, and terrified. This means that the most important survival structure shuts itself off in the absolute worst possible second. It is mental. And that's when things go wrong. It requires three things. So before we talk about specific neurological inputs, before we talk about what your brain needs before we allow you to cross the threshold into we need to talk about what is happening inside your skull right now. Let's go through all three. Because until you understand that, nothing else matters. Your amygdala needs to know. Let me destroy something you believe right now. Power down. You believe that keeps you safe. But the way most people believe that the more vigilant you are, the more you scan. Most people, the more you feel unsafe, the more you try to increase their scanning. The better your chances of surviving directions. Every movie you ever watched told you cover more ground with every thriller. Every survival show, this is the wrong every tough guy instinct hardwired. Your brain does not calm down screaming the exact same message at you right now. It escalates. Don't you dare close your eyes. More potential threats. It feels like more alarm. It feels like your brain actually feels like the responsible, serious, no nonsense survival. It needs a number of potential someone who gets it. It is the fastest way to get yourself killed. Reduced to a number it can passively process I'm not being without cognitive effort. I'm being precise. Here's the practical translation. Here's what actually happens to when you choose a position that refuses to sleep. You are not choosing a comfortable spot. And pay attention. You are not choosing a spot because this is the part that separates the people who are doing something neurologically specific. When you stay awake past 18 hours, you are collapsing the threat perimeter. 18 hours. You want your back against something not a week impassable. Just 18 hours. Rock face. Your prefrontal cortex begins to degrade. A dense wall of brush. The prefrontal cortex concrete is the part of your brain something that physically eliminates one full direction decision making. It is want natural barriers, terms, water, the part that keeps you smart. Elevation at 20 hours away, reducing the remaining approaches to one or two corridors. Unreliable. Now, you start misreading the neurological effect as dangerous. Your subconscious mind, seeing movement that even while you sleep, you start making decisions that low-level threats are irrational in the moment. It is still and listening, are actually catastrophic. Still processing. But here's the part nobody talks about. When that surveillance system has a vast, open.
That's the trap.
360-degree perimeter
that kills
monitor.
Sleep
deprivation
rest.
feels like
it keeps
allocating resources.
It mimics the sensation
keeps
of
running
being
the check.
switched on, dialed
keeps the
in,
alarm
ready.
in a low-level
The
active
stress
state.
hormones
When you
flooding your
reduce the
system,
perimeter to 1 or 2
cortisol,
corridors,
adrenaline,
and your
they
brain
create a feeling
registers
of sharp
geometrically
that is completely
even
fake.
without you consciously
you feel like
thinking
you're
about it.
running at 100%.
The load drops,
and you are actually running at
surveillance
40%.
Can focus,
And you have no
and a
way of
focus
knowing the
system can
difference from
idle.
inside.
And an
You
idling
think you're a
system
sharp
can let you
blade.
sleep.
You are
This
a
is not
drunk
a
man who
physical
thinks he
trick.
drives
It
better
is a
after
neurological
few
one.
beers. You are
And it
giving
gets
your
worse.
threat detection system
Past 24
something
hours
it
without
needs
sleep,
to step down.
Your brain
perimeter
begins doing
certainty
something
is
terrifying
only
without
signal
your
one.
permission.
Something
two,
called microsensory
sensory
handoff.
Involuntary
Here is something
blackouts
fascinating
lasting
between
about the
half a
sleeping
second
brain.
and 30 seconds.
Your
where
auditory
brain
cortex
simply
does not fully
disconnects.
shut down when you sleep.
You are awake.
It continues
Your
to
eyes are
process
open.
sound.
You are
Not
sitting there in the
consciously.
dark,
You're
gripping
not
whatever
aware
weapon
sound
you
the way
have,
you are when you are awake,
scanning the perimeter.
but the
And
processing
your brain has
happens.
gone offline.
And what it is
for 30
specifically
seconds.
listening for,
And you will never
what
know
has
what
been
happened.
tuned to listen
The
for
guard
across
who
hundreds
refuses
of
to
thousands
sleep
of years
isn't
of
awake.
evolution.
He just
is
can't tell when
pattern
he's asleep
disruption
anymore.
Not
So
new
let's
sounds.
bury this idea
Pattern
right now.
disruption
The
permanently.
baseline of night,
The person
has a
sitting
sound.
up all night on
Insects,
pure willpower is
wind
not the
moving
survivor
through specific
in this story.
vegetation types.
He's the
The
cautionary
particular
tale.
acoustic
The survivor
signature
is someone who
of
understood
whatever
something
environment you are in.
counterintuitive. Your
Something
brain
almost
learns
uncomfortable
its
to
baseline
accept.
within 20 to
Something
40
that goes
minutes.
against every
And once
survival
it has learned
instinct.
your
Monitors
entire
for
life,
deviations.
the survivor
This is why a
slept
sudden silence
on
can
purpose,
wake you fast
on
in a
schedule,
loud noise.
by choice.
It is why experienced
But-
outdoors
and this is the
people
part
have
we need to
always
spend the rest of
described
the
the same
conversation
sensation.
on.
How you sleep
wake
in a
up
grid
and the
down
night
situation
sounds wrong
is a
before you can
completely
identify
different
why.
science from how
Because
you
your
sleep
sleeping
in bed.
brain detected a
And
pattern break
almost no one
and
understands
triggered a
it.
wake response
Let's start at
before
the
your
beginning.
conscious mind
Here
caught
is
up.
something your
This is a
biology
profound
teacher never
survival
told you.
asset.
And it is
almost
almost
nobody
nobody survival
deliberately
fact you will
cultivates it.
ever hear.
Here is how
your
you
brain has a
activate
threat
intentionally.
detection system.
When you arrive
that
at your
runs
position for the night,
independently of your
before you set
conscious
anything,
mind,
before you
it
eat,
does not ask
before
your
you do
permission.
anything else. It does not
You sit
consult
still
your plans.
and you listen
It does
for
not
10
care
minutes.
that you have a system.
That is the
that
whole
you are
instruction.
prepared.
10
you
minutes
have read
of still
every
listening.
survival manual
What you are
ever
doing is
printed.
accelerating
It
your
runs on
brain's
its own
acoustic
rules,
calibration
ancient
of the
rules.
environment.
Rules
You are
written
feeding
into
it
your
the nervous
baseline
system
faster.
somewhere
insects,
between
the
50,000
wind,
and
the
200,000
water,
years
the
ago.
water,
The
when your
specific
ancestors were
texture of
sleeping in the
silence in that
open on
particular
African
place.
savanna.
You are
the
loading
things that
all
wanted
of it
to eat
into
them.
your threat detection
This system is called the
reference
amygdala
memory.
threat loop.
After 10 minutes,
understanding
your
it is the
brain
difference
has a
between
baseline.
sleeping through a
It
dangerous
knows
night
what this place
and
sounds
lying
like when
paralyzed
nothing
with
is
your
wrong.
heart slamming
And
against
from
your
that
ribs
point forward,
until
while
dawn.
you sleep,
Here is
it will
how it
monitor
works.
for deviations
When your
from
brain
that baseline
perceives an
automatically.
unsafe environment,
without your
no
effort,
walls, no
without
door,
draining
no
your
visible
cognitive
community,
resources,
no established
you have
shelter,
handed the watch
it
off
triggers
to
a
a system that
cascade.
does not tire,
Cortisol
does not
floods
drift,
your system.
does
Your
not make
heart rate
judgment
elevates.
errors from sleep
Your
deprivation.
muscle tension
You
increases.
have made the night
your
itself
senses
your
sharpened.
sentry.
But
But
here's
there's
the
the part
third
that
signal.
makes us a trap,
And it is the one that almost nobody
addresses.
addresses.
The amygdala
And it is the one that
cannot
is most
distinguish
likely to
between
keep you
actual
awake no matter
danger
how well
and
you
perceived
execute the
danger.
first two.
It responds to the idea that you might be in danger the same way it responds to actual danger. So lying in the open, even if nothing is hunting you, even if you are genuinely safe, your brain does not know that. It cannot know that. And so it keeps the alarm on all night. And here's the cruel irony. Signal 3, internal permission. This is the hardest one to talk about because it sounds soft. It sounds like therapy language. It sounds like the opposite of the hard-edged survival content you came here for. I don't care. This is the one that matters most. Your brain will not cross the threshold into deep sleep without what neurologists call internal permission, a subconscious clearance signal that says, you have done enough. The threat is managed. You can let go. In your normal life, this signal happens automatically. You are in your home. The doors are locked. Your phone is charged. Your alarm is set. Your brain runs its quick checklist, finds everything in order, and issues the clearance. You never notice it happening. It has happened every single night of your life. But in a grid-down, open environment, that checklist fails. Items on it do not exist. There are no locks. There is no alarm. There is no established safety infrastructure. And so your brain loops the checklist endlessly, never finding completion, never issuing the clearance signal, never letting you go under. This is not weakness. This is not cowardice. This is your nervous system functioning exactly as designed in an environment it was not designed for. The solution is to build a new checklist, consciously, deliberately, before the sun goes down, and then run it before you attempt sleep. This sounds simple. It is simple, and it works at a neurological level that surprises people the first time they try it. Here is the structure. Before you lie down, You perform what I call a clearance audit, out loud if possible, because vocalizing activates a different part of your brain than silent thought and generates a stronger confirmation signal. You go through each element of your prepared position, and you state specifically what each one does. My back is against the embankment. Nothing approaches from behind. The brush corridor to the north requires noise to cross. The acoustic baseline of this position is loaded. My body is insulated from ground conduction. My position is not visible from any approach. Each statement is a checklist item. Each item is real, verified, tangible. And as you run through them, something shifts in your nervous system, not because you said magic words, but because you have done the thing your brain was looping to complete. You have finished the checklist. You have given your threat detection system the information it needs to reduce its operational level from active threat scan to passive monitoring. That reduction is a neurological permission slip for sleep. And here's the extraordinary thing about this technique. It compounds. The first night, it might take you 15 minutes to feel the shift. The second night, 5. By the third or fourth night in a consistent position, your brain will begin to associate the clearance audit itself with the safety signal, and you'll find yourself dropping towards sleep before you have finished running through it. You are not just surviving the night. You are training your nervous system for the environment. You are becoming neurologically adapted to a world that would paralyze most people. Now, you have all three signals in place. Perimeter certainty, sensory handoff, internal permission. Your brain has what it needs to let you sleep. But here's the problem. Knowing how to fall asleep and knowing how to stay asleep usefully are two completely different skills. And the second one is where most survival sleep advice completely falls apart. Because here's the reality of sleep architecture in a threat environment. Normal, healthy sleep moves through cycles. Light sleep, deep sleep, REM. In a normal night, you cycle through these stages 4 or 5 times. The deep sleep stages are where your brain consolidates information, where your body repairs itself, where your immune system does its most critical work. The REM stages are where your emotional processing happens, where stress is metabolized, where trauma is filed away rather than left live and bleeding. You need both. In a genuine threat environment, even with all three signals in place, your brain will naturally bias toward lighter sleep stages. This is a correct survival adaptation. Lighter sleep means fast awake response, means faster reaction to a real threat, but it comes at a cost. Sustained light-only sleep across multiple nights produces something called sleep debt compounding. Each night you shortchange the deep stages. The debt grows, and unlike financial debt, this kind does not wait patiently. It begins collecting immediately in the form of slow processing speed, degraded emotional regulation, impaired threat assessment, the exact cognitive functions you most desperately need. So here's a strategic answer, and it is borrowed from one of the most demanding human endurance environments ever studied: solo long-distance ocean racing. Solo ocean sailors face a version of your problem that is mathematically similar. They cannot afford more than a few hours of unconsciousness at a time. They must surface regularly, but they also must get genuine, physiologically complete sleep across a 24-hour cycle to stay functionally sharp across weeks at sea. Their solution is called polyphasic sleep architecture, and the version they use has been refined by necessity into something remarkably precise. Instead of one consolidated block of sleep, they structure their rest into multiple shorter cycles, each time to align with the natural 90-minute sleep cycle your brain completes from light stage through deep stage through REM and back. Here is why 90 minutes specifically. If you sleep in 90-minute increments, you wake at the natural completion point of a cycle. Your body surfaces smoothly, quickly, fully oriented. You feel alert. You are alert. If you sleep in random increments, 40 minutes, 110 minutes, 130 minutes, you're likely to be woken mid-cycle in deep sleep, and you'll experience sleep inertia, that crushing, disoriented, can't-think straight sensation that can last 20 to 30 minutes. In a survival context, 20 to 30 minutes of cognitive impairment after waking is potentially fatal. So you structure your sleep in 90-minute blocks, 2 or 3 of them across the night, separated by brief alert periods of 10 to 20 minutes. During the alert periods, you are fully awake. You run your perimeter. You recheck your signals. You eat something small, if you have it. You let your nervous system register the evidence that you are still here, still safe, still managing. And then you lie down and run your clearance audit again. And you go back under. This is not comfortable sleep. Let me be direct with you about that. It will not feel like the deep, luxurious restoration of a full night in your own bed. You will accumulate some debt. You will need to pay it back eventually, on a safe night in a safe place, but across a dangerous night and across multiple dangerous nights. This structure will keep your judgment sharp, your threat assessment reliable, and your decision-making functional in a way that either chronic sleep deprivation or the desperate hope of one long unconscious stretch simply cannot. You are not surviving night by night. You are managing a long game. And there's one final piece of this puzzle, one element that ties the entire system together and solves a problem none of the other pieces address. Everything we have covered so far is internal. It is all about what you build inside your own nervous system. The perimeter certainty is a mental registration, not just a physical setup. The sensory handoff is a biological calibration process. The clearance audit is a neurological permission system. And the sleep architecture is a cognitive management strategy. All of it is about transforming your brain from your enemy into your ally. But here's the piece that completes it. There's one physical input, one external signal that has a direct, documented, neurologically significant calming effect on a human threat detection system that no amount of internal discipline fully replicates. The sound of calm, rhythmic breathing near you. Not words, not reassurance, not even movement. Just the sound of another living creature breathing slowly and calmly in proximity. This is hardwired. This goes back to infancy, to co-sleeping in groups, to the evolutionary period when a human sleeping alone was a human in serious danger, and the acoustic signature of a sleeping group was a primary safety signal the amygdala was calibrated to recognize. When your brain detects the slow, calm breathing of another creature nearby, not threatened, not alarmed, not tense, it interprets this as a powerful environmental signal that the immediate perimeter is safe. Because if something dangerous were approaching, that breathing would change. In the world you came from, this signal was provided by other humans. In this world, it is provided by a dog, not as a guard, not as an alarm system, though a dog serves that function extraordinarily well, but as a neurological signal generator, a living, breathing, warm-bodied creature whose calm respiratory rhythm near your body sends a direct, continuous, automatic signal to your amygdala that the perimeter is clear. The practical application is not complicated. A dog sleeping near you, not on watch, not alert, just sleeping calmly beside you, will do more to suppress your threat detection system's background alarm than almost any other single intervention. This is why humans and dogs have been sleeping in proximity for at minimum 15,000 years. This is not companionship. This is not sentiment. This is a mutual neurological arrangement that predates human civilization. The dog's acute senses provide real surveillance. Your warmth and proximity provide the dog with its own safety signal, and the dog's calm sleeping breath provide you with yours. The two of you together sleep better than either of you alone. This is the oldest co-sleeping arrangement on Earth. And in the world you are navigating now, it is not a luxury. It is a system. Let's put the whole picture together. You chose your position not for comfort, but for neurology, collapsing the threat perimeter to a manageable geometry, giving your threat detection system fewer directions to surveil. You sat still for 10 minutes and listened, accelerating your brain's acoustic calibration, loading the baseline so your sleeping mind knows exactly what normal sounds like in the specific place. You ran your clearance audit before lying down, out loud, specifically, deliberately, giving your nervous system completed checklist that needs to issue the permission signal for sleep. You structured your sleep in 90-minute cycles, aligned with your brain's natural sleep architecture, ensuring you surface at the completion point rather than mid-cycle, keeping your cognition sharp. And you are not alone. There's another heartbeat beside you, breathing slowly, calmly, sending a continuous signal through 15,000 years of coevolutionary hardwiring directly to the part of your brain that decides whether the world is safe. This is not a collection of tricks. This is a system, a complete neurological architecture for sleeping safely when everything that used to keep you safe is gone. And here's what it gives you. It gives you mornings. Not the ragged, paranoid, barely functional mornings of the person who sat up all night on adrenaline and spite, who arrives at dawn with drunk's judgment and a body running on fumes. Real mornings. Clear-eyed, oriented, capable mornings, where your threat assessment is calibrated, your decision-making is sharp, and your body has had enough repair to carry you through another day. That is what separates the survivors from the statistics in long-duration grid-down scenarios. Not the most aggressive preparation, not the most ruthless willpower. The people who make it week 2, week 3, month 2, they're the ones who figured out early how to sleep, because surviving one night on adrenaline is easy. Surviving 100 nights requires sleep. You think you're not tired right now. You think the stress is keeping you sharp. Give it 72 hours. The grid is down. The walls are gone. The old rules do not apply. But you now have something most people in your situation do not. You understand what your brain actually needs to rest in the dark. And that understanding, quietly, invisibly, in the accumulated minutes of rest, while others burn to their reserves. That is the thing that keeps you alive. Now sleep. You've earned it.